Right now, you can tap a piece of glass in your hand, and within milliseconds, a message will travel across oceans, through hundreds of miles of fiber optic cables, and land directly on someone else's screen. You can express love, anger, fear, or a joke using 26 letters or a tiny yellow icon. But for 99.9% of human history, that glass didn't exist. In fact, for most of our existence, words didn't even exist. If you were transported back 200,000 years and dropped into a group of early Homo sapiens, the silence would terrify you. There were no alphabets, no books, no languages with grammar or complex vocabulary. Yet, these exact humans managed to organize massive hunts, pass down life-saving knowledge across generations, build deep emotional bonds, and survive in a world where everything was trying to kill them. So, how did they actually do it? How did humans communicate before language? The answer isn't just about grunts and hand signals. It's the story of how our bodies evolved, how art was born, and how a strange shift in human behavior created the modern world. Let's start with the physical body, because long before we had words, our entire body was a broadcast system. If you look at apes, our closest living relatives, their eyes are almost entirely dark. The sclera, the white part of the eye, is barely visible. But humans are unique. We evolved bright white sclera surrounding our dark irises. For decades, evolutionary biologists wondered why. The answer is extraordinary. Cooperative eye hypothesis. White eyes allowed ancient humans to track exactly where another person was looking from a distance. Without making a sound, a hunter could look toward a rustling bush, and everyone in his group knew instantly where the danger was coming from. Our eyes were literally built to read minds. Then came something even more unique to humans: pointing. It sounds simple, almost childish. But try pointing to an object in front of a chimpanzee. The chimp will look at your finger, not at what you're pointing at. Humans are the only primates on Earth that naturally understand pointing as a way to share attention. Long before ancient humans could say, "Look at that deer over there," a single extended index finger communicated a complex thought. I see something. I want you to see it too, and I want us to act on it together. Anthropologists call this shared intentionality, and it was the invisible foundation of human culture. For hundreds of thousands of years, communication was deeply physical. It was a language of posture, facial twitching, vocal pitch, and rhythm. A low hum signaled safety. A sudden sharp breath signaled danger. A gentle pat on the shoulder meant reassurance. But body language had one massive limitation. It only worked in the light, and it only worked if you were looking directly at each other. And then, something changed in our throats. Sometime between 300,000 and 100,000 years ago, human anatomy underwent a quiet biological miracle. The larynx, or voice box, descended lower in the throat. The hyoid bone, a delicate horseshoe-shaped bone that anchors the tongue, took on a specific shape that allowed for an unprecedented range of vocal sounds. Neanderthals had a version of this bone, but in Homo sapiens, it allowed for intricate, rapid flexibility of sound. Suddenly, humans could make distinct consonants and vowels. But why did we start talking? British anthropologist Robin Dunbar came up with a radical theory to answer this. Vocal grooming. In primate society, social bonds are maintained through physical grooming, picking bugs out of each other's fur. It calms the group, builds trust, and lowers stress. But physical grooming takes hours, and you can only groom one individual at a time. As ancient human groups grew larger, reaching up to 150 individuals, there simply wasn't enough time in the day to groom everyone by hand. Speech evolved as a way to groom multiple people at once. Instead of picking through fur, An early human could sit in the middle of a group and use sound to soothe, bond, and connect with 5 people simultaneously. Vocalizing was emotional before it was informational. We didn't invent language to trade complex data. We invented language to gossip, comfort, and say, "I am part of your tribe, and you are part of mine." And this brings us back to the campfire. As speech developed, night changed everything. Around the fire, you couldn't rely entirely on body language anymore, because the shadows were too deep. Speech took over. But speech had its own major flaw. Sound vanishes the second it is spoken. Words die in the air. If you want to leave a message for someone who isn't standing in front of you, or for someone who hasn't been born yet, speaking isn't enough. So, roughly 40,000 years ago, humans invented a mind-bending new technology, symbolic art. Deep inside caves like Chauvet in France or Maros in Indonesia, ancient humans pressed their hands against cold limestone walls, took a mouthful of crushed red ochre pigment, and blew it across their fingers. When they pulled their hands away, an outline remained. Think about what that hand stencil actually is. It's not just art. It is a message across time. It is a human being saying to whoever walks into that cave 10,000 years later, "I was here. I existed." For a long time, historians viewed cave paintings, the horses, the bison, the handprints, as simple decorations or hunting rituals. But in recent years, paleoanthropologist Genevieve von Pitzinger spent years documenting geometric markings found alongside cave art all across the world. She analyzed over 140 ancient sites and found something shocking. Across a span of 30,000 years, ancient humans continuously used the exact same 32 geometric symbols: dots, lines, triangles, zigzags, and open angles. These symbols were found in caves separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years. They weren't random doodles. They were a standardized code. Long before Sumerian cuneiform or Egyptian hieroglyphics were invented, Ice Age humans had developed a proto-writing system to leave messages on stone walls, warnings, directions, territorial markers, or spiritual symbols. When an ancient human painted a symbol on a wall, they achieved immortality for their thoughts. They conquered distance and time. Fast forward to today. We communicate more than any species in the history of the planet. We send billions of texts, emails, and voice notes every single day. We are endlessly connected. But here's the unsettling truth. In gaining instant global communication, we stripped away almost everything that made human communication powerful in the first place. When you send a text message, you strip away the white of the eyes looking at you. You strip away the pitch, NT3L 908, the rhythm of the breath, the warmth, Emmet3L firelight, and the subtle facial movements that our brains evolved over 300,000 years to decode. We try to patch the gap with emojis, little painted hands and smiling faces, unknowingly trying to recreate the gestures and hand stencils ETO3 our ancestors in a digital cave. Psychologists have found that text-based communication leads to far more misunderstandings, higher rates of loneliness, and less empathy than face-to-face interaction. Why? Because your brain is still an ancient biological computer. It expects body language, tone, eye contact, and presence. When it receives cold, flat text on an illuminated screen, it feels isolated. For hundreds of thousands of years, to communicate with someone meant to share physical space with them. It meant sitting close enough to feel the heat, through the same fire, to watch their eyes reflect the flames, and to listen as their voice turned into a story that synchronized your brainwaves with theirs. We traded all of that raw, deep, high-bandwidth connection for speed and convenience. Today, you can talk to someone on the other side of the planet instantly, But we often forget how to truly talk to the person sitting right across the room. The next time you type out a quick message or drop an emoji in a chat, take a second to look at your hands. Inside your DNA lives the memory of hunters who communicated with a single look, storytellers who held tribes together using sound in the pitch black, and artists who blew red paint over their hands to whisper across 40,000 years. They didn't have screens, but they understood something we are in danger of forgetting. That true communication isn't just about sending data. It's about making someone else feel less alone in the dark.